Today's episode of Kevin Pollak's Chat Show is brought to you by Littleton Coin Company. For over 70 years, Littleton has been helping people just like you sell their coins and currency. Whether you're an experienced collector or someone who needs help identifying what you have in your collection, Littleton Coin Company is the place to sell your U.S. coins and currency. The process is incredibly simple. Simply visit littlecoin.com/chat show to learn more. Littleton Coin. Back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How are you? I'm going to put my phone on stun because we're flying by the seat of it today. How's the sound, J-Mac?
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, the worst vote of confidence in history. I believe in my haste, kick the microphone cord attached to very securely to the chair.
If it could just go up a little further on your shirt, I think that...
Maybe if you could go up a little further on what?
Hey now.
That's weird. That doesn't even make any sense. Welcome back to the show. We're going to catch you up just a little on things. Jamie, how are you?
I'm very well. I have a story.
You have a story?
I do.
Please share.
I may have accidentally committed a crime last night.
Do you want to wait for 7 years of statute of limitations, or because this will be in public record?
No, I think it's an okay story. It was an accident.
Fantastic.
I think
Let's
it's an
find
okay.
out.
You know the story about the towel. I think it's okay that I tell this.
The story about the who?
I told you this happened to me last night.
Oh, the breaking and entering.
You ruined the pie. Thanks a lot.
They didn't know anything.
But I had a whole story and it was gonna you just blew the reveal.
We'll edit that. So what's the story? There's 14 people watching live. What's the story?
Anywho,
yeah.
So I'm cat sitting for a friend of mine.
Yes.
And I had been to her place exactly once prior to get the key for her house, and she could show me around what I have to do for her cat. And so yesterday was the first day that I had to go over and watch the cat, and I go up to her front door and I fiddle with the key and it's not quite working, and I'm fiddling with it some more, and then I just give a nice push on the front door and it opens, and I take about 2 steps in through the front door into the living room, and I look around and I'm like, this isn't her house. So I quietly tiptoe back and quietly shut the door and scamper off down the street 2 doors to her actual house. But I let this house was the front door was unlocked.
Was this Wisconsin in 1957?
I know this door was unlocked. It appeared as if no one was home.
Wow.
No one. It was very quiet. There was not a sound. There was a car in the driveway. But yeah, so I accidentally
There's so many parts of the story I love.
I accidentally broke into somebody's house last night.
You have a little raccoon mask on? I love that you're jiggling the key, which we've all done. The key's a little rusty, something's not happening, and your brain said, give it a little push. Give the front door a little push. That should do it.
Yep.
And it did.
And I walked in and I did one of these, and I'm like, I don't remember. No, this is not her home.
You've not been in the home a gazillion times.
I was there exactly one other time for about 5 minutes.
I can't wait for you to tell her.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're a neighbor of this place, I'm not going to tell you. You know what? Write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com and just let us know if you think someone has broken into your house in the last 36 hours. Welcome to the show. We're coming to you live from the West Side Comedy Theater. It says we're there on the wall if our 2-shot is working. Recent guests, you're wondering, hey, who's been on the show? Why should I check this shit out? Billy Bob Thornton, Christopher Guest, Lauren Graham, Rob Riggle, J.K. Simmons, Craig Ferguson, Michaela Watkins. None of those people. No, they've all been on quite recently. Upcoming guests, Jenna Fisher, Mary Lynn Rajkub, whose name I'll eventually learn to pronounce, Paul Rudd, Bob Saget, and of course, October 29th, threatening Ricky Gervais. We have a return guest today, but before we get to our wonderful guest, first of all, Sam Levine in absentia. He's working.
Where is he?
Yes.
He's going to the eclipse.
There we go.
Oh, that's right. He's not
He is
working.
on-
Of course he's going to see the
en route.
eclipse. Of course.
You know what? Just so we can shop and compare, write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. Let us know your eclipse experience. Did you go blind? Did you look incorrectly? Did you gaze in the wrong direction? Did you make a little pinhole with a piece of paper and look at it on the cement, like I did in the 70s when it happened last? So, not knowing when you're watching or listening to this, I will just say that today is Sunday, August 20th, 2017, in the year of your Lord. So it may be old news to you that we lost one of the icons, one of the Mount Rushmores. So wake up to news this morning is how we all got the information, which is why it's so fresh and something I feel a need to talk about. We did lose Jerry Lewis, age 91. I'm here to tell you personally, he had a hell of a run. He came out of retirement a couple of years ago and starred in a movie called Max Rose, which is during which I finally met him. I played his son in the film, which started a year earlier when my stand-up comedy agent called me and said, Jerry Lewis wants your number. And I said, yeah, I appreciate you calling me, but Jerry Lewis should be on your top 200 list as to you don't need to call me. In fact, let's just put him at the top of it. So this begins a phone exchange, messages with Jerry Lewis. And I had the first phone message from Jerry Lewis on my voicemail on my phone that I would play for people for maybe a year. Because it didn't matter what age he was able to become the Jerry Lewis at the drop of a hat. And he slowly became my mother at one point, where he would just leave messages saying, A Few Good Men was on! I watched it today! And then he would hang up. Yeah, that happened for a couple years. So he lived in Las Vegas, where he was found having peacefully sent off to the great beyond this morning. And I was called to Las Vegas to meet him. I had a lunch in I think it was the Bellagio has this little restaurant. And so we met there, and he comes with a bag. And what's in the bag? Gives me recently refurbished 10 DVD collection set of Martin and Lewis films, and then the Lewis collection, and then a script. I want you to play my son in the picture! And just lovely and ridiculous and beyond one of those you can take me now moments. All throughout it, there were these moments. The film debuts at the Cannes Film Festival. So there's the go to France with the most beloved son from American show business. And I finally find out why we've all been talking about and/or making fun of that the French love Jerry Lewis. So Jerry, in 1959, makes a deal at Paramount Pictures to star in and direct movies for 10 years, at least one a year. He gets a deal that is unprecedented, $5 million a year for 10 years. 1959, $5 million a year, which is, I'm guessing, $50 million a year now. No, in the history of show business, nobody's even heard of anything remotely. So you get all the great films, Nutty Professor and so on. Towards the end of that, he starts hosting the telethon here in America, which did not play at all outside of America. And at the end of his 10-year deal with Paramount, he sort of walked away from show business and started focusing just on the telethon and the great work that he did. And slowly over time, it had a diminishing return when here in America, that's what we, generation after generation, came into awareness of this. I beg you to go to YouTube today and look at clips of young Jerry Lewis and be prepared to have your mind blown beyond. So the diminishing return of what Jerry Lewis was in this country was this tuxedoed host of this, give me a Tiffany! You know, it became Ed, what's the number? You know, it just lost all of the luster. Whereas in France, there was a man at the apex of his young career from 59 to 69 who wrote, starred and directed several comedic masterpieces and then walked away. Walked away as a very, very young man, 69, almost 50 years ago. And so I get to France for the Cannes Film Festival, and I'm asking, I have this opportunity to find out what the hell. And this is how it was explained to me by one of the people who run the Cannes Film Festival. And it was a revelation. It instantly made sense, of course. Imagine one of the all-time great writer-directors at a very young age walking away and never coming back, just turning into a ghost. There was no video shared with anywhere outside of the US. No one knew that he had made this shift. He had just vanished. And to see them reacting to him, then he was 88, 89, it was what you would want for your grandfather, sort of thing. It was the feeling. He was playing my father, but he was everyone's grandfather instantly, and told me extraordinary stories. He and Dean Martin were the Beatles before the Beatles in terms of America going truly insane. They did like a 59-city tour in 62 days, 3-car train. Dean and I were in one car. The orchestra was in another car. That's where if you wanted to get high. And then management, publicity, and everybody was in the third car. And they, for 60 whatever days, traveled like a whistle-stop tour someone running for president would do. And the first pictures of them looking outside of a third-story hotel window and 10,000 kids at the bottom, what we would later see the Beatles do. Martin and Lewis did first. And also going through some of the research when working with him and wanting to hear more stories, I remember how he had sort of found Dean Martin, and I'd always thought that the opposite was true, and begged a theater owner to let Dean work with him when the music act had dropped out, and how their shenanigans together had started as an after-hours show. They would do after their show, literally for the handful of people who stuck around, is when they started fucking off and trying to make each other laugh, basically. Please go to YouTube and check out everything you can about this Mount Rushmore icon who meant the world to a great many of us in the performing arts. And a piece has died today without question, a big piece of my own heart. So thank you, Jerry, for allowing me into your life for a brief time in your life and a lifetime in mine. Speaking of great talents, again, Sam Levine not with us today. But Sam is going to join me for a Cubs game in Chicago. How's the sound, by the way?
Great.
Oh, fantastic.
You should get BDM to go with you.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great idea. Brian Del Murray became a neighbor and then moved to Kansas City, who loves his Cubs more than anyone. See, I'm going to do a movie in September in Chicago, and I've already lined up a game for Sammy and I to go to at the Wrigley. Speaking of baseball fans, this is our 320th episode, and it is the first one that I've held this up. I believe I've set a timer 17 that I was born and raised in San Francisco, and this would be the enemy. But it is followed by this. Since he was at this table in 2010, just to catch you up a bit, he was nominated for an Academy Award. He won a Tony Award for Best Performance for his work in the play All the Way, and the play itself won Best Drama. He was nominated for 6 Golden Globes, winning only 1, so not a great batting average. With The Foreigners, after winning 3 Emmys prior to our 2010 chat, which we talked about. I don't know if he remembers the only other actor in the history of the Emmys who won 3 consecutive Best Performance by a Lead Actor in a Drama. Put the test to him if he does remember. It only happened once before and hasn't happened since. He picked up 5 more additional nominations, winning 2, so bringing the numbers back up to the delight of the front office. Nominated for 3 DGA Awards, 3 Producer Guild Awards, winning 2, nice, and 7 more nominations from the Screen Actors Guild, All total, an unfathomable 51 nominations and/or wins since 2010. And dare I gild the lily further, he had 33 noms and/or wins prior to our chat, so a total of 84. Please welcome the historically greedy Bryan Cranston back to the table.
Hey!
What does that sound like?
Play, please.
Does any of that sound?
I had no idea that there were 80 some odd. No, that can't be right.
Well, granted, some of them are
No, you don't have to go there.
awards that most other people haven't heard of.
You know,
There's film festivals around the world who honor you and they give you an award.
And some are so shady that you know these that they'll say, if Bryan can guarantee that he'll show up, we can guarantee that he'll win.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's the worst. We have something for his mantle, should he grace us. It's a weird thing.
it's a very strange thing.
Yeah, someone said, I wish I could remember who. If you stick around long enough, they'll give you awards.
They give you an award for just sticking around.
Yeah. In your case, however, there might have been some work involved.
It's good to see you.
It is.
But I wanted to say that was a lovely tribute to Jerry Lewis.
Thank you. Let's just.
Wow.
Was there any
Yes.
part of your life that
Yeah.
either was inspired or otherwise?
My dad was a journeyman actor, not too accomplished, not too successful in his overall world. But I did go to the set one time to see Jerry Lewis, and I can't remember what the movie was because I was really young.
How old are we talking? 7 or 8 or something?
Yeah, something really young. And as a matter of fact, when we met him, and gracious and kind, fun.
Yes.
He said, my brother was with us, who was 2.5 years older than me, and he said, boys, I got to give you something. And he went up and he dug out, he said, my son is a musician and a rock musician, and I'm going to give you his album, Gary Lewis and the Playboys.
And the Playboys, yeah.
And he handed us this, and we played that thing over and over and over
He had
again.
a couple hits.
Yeah, he had a couple hits,
Yeah.
and it was great. And it was like, wow, Jerry Lewis gave this to us.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And you know, the accomplishments that he's done for our industry.
Oh my goodness. Video assist.
The video assist, I don't think many people really know that.
Yeah, so prior to video assist, directors, I remember hearing John Huston would crouch down by the camera and close his eyes during a performance when he was directing.
And try to imagine it.
Yeah. And so Jerry Lewis, when he was directing himself, decided there's got to be a way for me to watch what I've done, and created what is called Video Assist, which is commonplace, now known as Video Village.
Right.
Where you're getting a live feed of the actual camera as it's running and recording it, in his case, to watch playback.
Yeah. Are you talking to them or are you talking to me about this?
So you must have enjoyed Video Assist when you directed.
Oh, I see.
Many
I see how
times.
you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be a little dangerous though, right? It can, because especially if you're on a time schedule and you're backed against the wall for that, you could eat up some time. You could basically, as opposed to spending the time to watch it again, you could just do another take if there was a couple things that you wanted to do. But
Yeah. Did you ultimately have a first or a producer or someone you could trust sit there and say,
exactly.
you want to do another one?
And whenever I directed myself, I would tell the first AD, the producer, the writer, and everybody, it's like, here are the elements that I'm looking for to get out of this. Let me know if we get that, and I jump into act, and then see how. Have you directed yourself before?
I've not, and I'm about to direct again, and I'm being encouraged to be in it, and I don't want to. But when I worked with Tom Hanks on that thing you do, and he we didn't have any scenes together.
No.
But I would watch him direct when he was in a scene, and I couldn't help but see him in the scene watching the actor opposite him doing their lines in a different way that he would have as just an actor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Sort
a
of.
little schizophrenic to be able to split and then.
And you go deep when you're acting. So were you able, how is there a disconnect?
I think on projects that I've written and directed or that I know the character really well.
Right.
It's more like slipping into comfortable slippers. You know,
Right.
you're like, okay, got it.
You can trust that.
You trust, where you're going. And in all the prep, as you know, That's where most of the work in directing takes place, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Is your pre-production prep. How prepared are you to start on that first day? Do you know this story backwards and forwards? Do you have specific ideas of where you want the camera? Do you know how you want to adjust some of the acting? So if you do that, and then you got to kind of let it go,
Right.
and see how it happens. See how it works out. But
I mentioned the Tony Awards, so let's start with All the Way. I did not see it on the boards, but I saw it on the big screen television later in the HBO film, and it was, it's a revelation of a performance, because I'm old enough to have seen the man speak, also on television. It was astonishing. So,
thank you.
how are you studying footage of him?
In ways, yeah. You want to be careful not to do an impersonation of anybody, but
Mannerism.
his mannerisms were so specific, and people like you and me, we were alive when this man was president, and we know his daughters are alive and well. His lawyer, his speechwriters, a lot of people knew and knew him very well, and so you had to get close. You had to get the Hill Country, Texas accent. You had to get his Johnson treatment kind of lumbering, and how he would
the squinting of the eyes.
Yeah, how he'd squint his eyes, and how he'd break the plane of comfort distance.
Close talker.
And he'd boom, go right in there. He would do something that was really interesting. I noticed it in some of the film. He'd pat someone on the back. Now, Kevin, God damn it! Look at you. You're looking good. He'd pat you on the back, and then slightly turn his hand to where he's got you, from a buddy to, now listen, we're gonna get this bill passed. I need you to help me now. Now don't tell. Hey, Jamie, by the way. And he'll just put you on your heel. Is she good? I love that lady. She's just the prettiest damn thing I ever seen. And you're going, oh, she's fine, Mr. President.
What do you need?
Yeah. What do you need? Now we need that bridge. Come on, goddammit. Just like, and he would just zero in on you, and pretty soon you'd leave him, and you'd go, I think I just agreed to a bill that I was going to say no to, and he would boom.
Yeah.
But that was good old politics. It was what I learned in doing the research for All the Way, that we can certainly use today, is that there's so much animus in our politics today. We actually feel it's been set up to be this athletic competition, that if you win, that means I lose, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, if we both love the country and we're both trying to do what we think is best for the country is the winner.
Yeah.
If you've got a good idea and I'm on the other side of the aisle, I'm not allowed to support you because you're the other side.
Yeah.
And so something that could help all of us goes because of ego, because of power, because hubris.
Hey, you see some of the good, solid leaders, helpful presidents of the last 20 years almost become a centrist halfway through their first term, because it is the only way to...
It's the only way to really get something done.
Yeah.
And it's so easy right now, especially, to be cynical.
Sure.
And to be finger pointing and to be judgmental, because we have a president, in my mind, who is mentally ill.
Yeah.
I seriously believe that. And because I believe that, I don't think that's funny.
Right.
I really don't. I think he needs help.
Yeah.
So I don't say that to go, he's like, no, I'm saying, no, he needs help.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was egocentric. I thought it was power.
Right.
I thought it was that. And then things are happening, and video also available of his just personal physical movement. It's of a person who's not all there.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
And therefore I found myself having more compassion for the man.
Yes, at the end of it, he's yes. Yeah. All the Way was not your Broadway debut.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to assume that, so I go the other way. I would love to know that process, because I've had two opportunities along the way And for me, they were the easiest way to not do it was the length of the run that they wanted. So it was easy to use that as an excuse, as opposed to all the ridiculous hard work it would have taken. You want 9 months? I can't. So I am forever fascinated by those who do. So what can you give me from the experience as a first timer?
It is harder than the 16 hours or so that we've been on movie sets.
Sure.
Which is a grind in its own self, and no one is going to feel sorry for us, nor should you.
Yeah, no.
We're very lucky.
I'm not even sure it's a job.
We're incredibly lucky to be storytellers. That being said, just the physical demand on your vocal cords, on your focus, on your just overall health, and you have 1 day off a week, it was pounding. So my 1 day off a week, Monday, I didn't even speak.
Right.
I didn't have I purposefully didn't speak to try to save my energy. And I was like a zombie. You're like walking around and you're like, oh, maybe I can take a nap.
Did you get intel on how to save your instrument even during the week when you're...
Audra McDonald, beautiful actor, was doing Porgy and Bess at the time, and I talked to her and I said, how do you belt out every night? She said her ear, nose, and throat, because she was having some problems, gave her a prescription for silent Mondays. And he said, no, I'm not kidding. No speaking, no whispering, no laughing, no talking, nothing. No sound out of your mouth on Mondays, unless you want to shut down. Should we tell the producers you're shutting down, or
right.
be preventive?
And then during the week, though?
Well, during the week, you
just warm-up exercise.
Yeah, warm-up exercise, and then you got to hit it. And I just adapted that.
Right.
Once she told me that, I thought, that sounds like a good idea, preemptive medicine, to be able to just not speak. And it saved my energy, it saved my vocal box, and because at 8 o'clock at night, you have to be at peak form. And as we get older, that's not a time that we feel like we can, power up.
It's not when our day begins.
8 to 11 p.m. 11 p.m. you give a final bow and your night is done, and unless there's people to visit and how are you and signing autographs and things like that.
They're waiting at the side stage door.
And they're waiting at the stage door.
That's another half hour, 45 minutes every night.
For you, maybe it's 3 hours for me.
But at some point you do have to, is there someone there that eventually helps you, or did you just give yourself over to it every night? Because that is another performance.
And I signed every autograph every night, because I was just thrilled and humbled that they were coming to see me. Yeah. And I really got a charge when I asked everybody, whose first Broadway play is this? And knowing that I know my first Broadway play, and then, it's like, wow.
And then made it a little special for them.
It did.
Sure.
It was really fun. But it's a grind. But
how long was the run?
I did it for 5 months. 8 shows a week for 5 months.
And it's 2 on Wednesday?
2 on Wednesday. So you go Tuesday night, Wednesday matinee, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday matinee, Saturday night, and Sunday matinee.
Makes me tired all over.
I know, it is. But I gotta tell you, it's also invigorating.
Of course.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if it's follow your heart with the writing. Follow the well-written word, Kev.
Right.
And if you go, I'm so lucky, A Few Good Men is like a brilliant play, brilliant movie. It's like... I
did a stage reading of a two-hander. We did a couple of nights where we were holding the scripts. And it was as close as I ever got. I mean, having done Godspell in high school, the only one without a solo in the cast.
That happened to me too.
Really?
we did Godspell in high school, and I was the only one that didn't have a solo. I had a monologue.
We've discussed that in 10 years.
I had a monologue, but I did not have a song.
We had the same part.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm that horrible of a singer. I could have been trained.
You could have been trained. Still can. Yeah. So I got a little tiny taste of the intoxicating.
Yeah.
But as a stand-up, of course, for 40 years, I've stood in front of an audience speaking in one for an hour to 90 minutes 10,000 times. I know how taxing that can be. I also know that it's the cure-all. If you're a little under the weather and you take that stage, the adrenaline and endorphin.
Pushes everything. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sick 3 times during the run of All the Way because it was a brutal winter. And I'd go on stage and LBJ had a cold that day and pull out his hanky and blow his nose, but it felt great. And then at 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, it's like, here it comes back.
Oh no.
I thought I was out. It's like, wow.
Yeah. How long were you recently in London for a television project that your company produced?
Very fortunate. My production company, Moonshot, has 4 television shows in production.
Yeah.
And I was in London doing an episode of one of them on air. It's Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, which will be on next year. On Amazon.
Amazing.
So that's cool. And I have an ongoing show right now in our 3rd season called Super Mansion.
Oh, Super Mansion. I say Sneaky Pete, but go ahead.
Super Mansion, which is an animated show about superheroes who all live in the same house together.
So Big Brother superheroes.
It's really fun. And then
and where can people
Pete.
catch Super Mansion? What do we?
Super Mansion is on both Crackle and on Adult Swim.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And then Sneaky Pete on Amazon is going into its 2nd season, which is really great.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot of fun. And
loving the hell out of that. Show. What's the genesis of that one?
I gave an Emmy speech one time, and I wanted to convey to the audience how lucky I knew I was.
Having been a Sneaky Pete yourself?
I was a Sneaky Pete. I was a kid who didn't have parental guidance. My mother and father split, and I didn't really connect with them, either one, for various reasons. I wrote it in the book. And so I think left to your own devices as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, you're not going to go, now I do this, and now I do this, and I'm supposed to do this. You're like, what's the way I can get away from? And so I became kind of sneaky. And until I found and fell in love with acting at 21, it changed me, and then I was able to devote my time and energy to that. And I wanted to convey this to the audience, like, okay, so if that was you, if you still haven't found that thing that brings you joy, or can you reintroduce yourself to that thing that made you happy?
Yeah.
It's never too late, and I hope you find it, and thank you to all those Sneaky Petes out there.
Yeah.
And then I left, and then I get a call from Zach Van Amberg at Sony, and he says, that's a TV show. I go, what is? He's Sneaky Pete. I go, what's the show? He goes, I don't know. He goes, but I do know that you found something that you fell in love with. But what if you didn't? What if you were 35, 38 years old and you didn't change from Sneaky Pete as a teenager?
Yeah.
Who would you become? And I started thinking about that. I went, you'd be a con man, I think. And so created the show and created Sneaky Pete.
And at what point did you realize that this character was breaking good, as you coined? I'm quoting you. It's kind of perfect.
Don't know if he is yet. It was kind of a pitch that it was like, it's kind of the
what if?
Yeah. What if there was a bad guy who never had a chance to be good? What if he never had the guidance, he never had the education, he never had the influence, he never had a mentor, and what if he's floating and just learned to start by stealing sunglasses off a table or tip money or something, and then got better, and then lifted wallets, and then to survive? What if he's now 38 and he still feels like there's something empty, and is there something better for me? Can I change it? So there's a thread of that in there, and we, the audience, feel like at some point he's going to see an opening and get out.
And he has his moments.
Yeah. Giovanni Ribisi,
who is one of the all-time greats and such a lovely, wonderful man.
He really is.
Yeah. And he has a twinkle in his eye that makes you root for him the first time he speaks.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. He does bad things, but there's something about him that you like.
Yeah. Those of you who haven't seen the show, so he finds himself in someone else's family.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
He assumes the long-lost relative role that we've seen in a couple of things, but not like this. And so there's an episodic moment thus far for me watching the show where I see that part of him that wants to be better. And he can't shake that. Well, he also can't shake an overlord character that you're playing.
I played, yes, a nasty man.
Yeah.
I love playing nasty.
How rich and fun is that?
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great playing the nasty man. Have you played a lot of heavies?
No, very few.
You have, because you have this
It's this
cute
annoying
little-
likability.
I just want to pinch your cheek. Can I do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have a twinkle in your eye.
Yeah.
You have a sweetness to your face.
Even when I played technically a lovable sociopath in The Usual Suspects, you still want to hug him.
Yeah. That's true.
But Kenny, you want to help that man out? Here. Oh, okay. We're at the West Side Comedy Theater. I can see into an alleyway over the guests, and every now and then a Sherman tank will drive by, and I'll think something needs to happen out there. Yeah. So this thing I'm going to do in September. I mentioned that Sam Levine and I are going to a Cub game. I am playing. It's a film called Teacher that really focuses in on the bullying situation, how wonderful outsider kids are. You know, we had bullies growing up always.
Yeah.
But through social media, it's become there's an audience for the bullies' tactics, and you're now being scrutinized by your world and not by one horrible person. So anyways, my character is the father of the bully, and we see that this bully was created by this horrible, horrible man.
So this is kind of a.
So this will be, he's.
But in your resting face, it's sweet. Whereas my resting face is mean. So look through the camera for a second and just go blank. No emotion, no anything. Just plain look. No, you can. There's a little bit of a meanness.
There was some comments in the research from Vince and a few other people that say Bryan's resting, concentrating face is more scary than Walter White.
Okay, so here it is.
Oh yeah, that's not friendly at all. That's not a lovely man. Whereas this, on the other hand,
see, that's mean.
And then that. Yeah. Let's talk about a life in parts in the process. I was approached to write a book, which is technically still available, called How I Slept My Way to the Middle. And someone had seen my acting, a lot of storytelling of my experiences, and they said, that's a book. And I said, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to take the time. And he said, we have a ghostwriter. I said, I can't have somebody else write my story. He said, no. He'll do Skype sessions with you, and he's a journalist, so he'll have questions, and you'll do 2-hour Skype sessions where his questions will spark your stories. And we did 5 of those, and he recorded them and then sent me the transcripts. And then I edited my own told stories as opposed to written. And I found that too easy and almost cheating. But they were my stories. Yeah. And for a performer of 40 years, they were the best version of my stories because I had told them, not overthinking them in the writing process.
Right.
Was it that easy for you?
I didn't do it with a ghostwriter. I wrote it.
Right. As everyone else does, is my point.
Well, I mean, I think it's valid if you're. But I wanted the challenge of writing it. I wanted to do it.
Sit and face those moments.
The good thing about writing this was that I wanted to write it in short story form, and so everything in the book is a short story. It's true, and A Life in Parts, which my editor came up with the title brilliantly. I think it talks about the parts that I played in my career. All the different character names, but also the parts I play in real life. I'm a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a neighbor, a citizen, and all like that. So all the different things that I've played and jobs that I had growing up and
did you draw from notes over the years? Did you draw from memories?
Memories. And then I do it from memory, and because I've been storytelling for a long, long time, and I would tell these stories at dinner parties and things like that. My family was very well versed in these stories, and then I added more to it. And then I contacted people who, from Aaron to Vince Gilligan and as a couple other people that in my work life, and then my brother and my sister and I, do you recall it being like this? I want to get accurate.
Yeah.
So is that what you recall? And they would send notes, and I would go, oh yeah, right, that happened first, and then okay, right, and I'd rewrite some things just to make sure that the chronology of it was correct.
Was there ever a moment where you felt there was a story you could have actually told from 5 different memories of people who were there?
It is. There's
a little Rashomon thing happening.
There is a Rashomon kind of approach to it because the memory plays tricks with you.
Oh boy, does it.
Right, doesn't it? And you go, well, no, I remember this, and this, and that's why I wanted to get some feedback on some of the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
long,
really rich. It was really a great experience. I love doing it.
How long does something like that take?
I guess it all told took about 1.5 years, but I didn't give myself a deadline. I just wrote the stories many times on airplanes. So I have a 5 or 6 if I'm going from New York to Los Angeles or wherever, and I just start writing. And it was okay because it's like, oh, Kevin, tell the one about the car breaking down. And so you just write about that story.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're looking at a blank page 1 and you have to fill 250 pages.
Right.
It's like, oh no, yeah, I can just tell this story. And so it never really became a daunting experience for me.
Right. And also when you visit those moments in your life, you not only learn from it while you're writing about it, you're enjoying all those incredible moments.
Or not.
Or not.
Or because there's some harrowing times in here. There's I had a crazy girlfriend that.
I'm sorry, you had a crazy girlfriend?
Yes.
Oh.
I think everyone has to go through a crazy girlfriend phase.
Oh, buddy.
Oh man. Yeah. So and it got to be very, very serious and very dangerous. Both for my...
And you shared as much as you legally could.
Yeah, I did share. And then there was a time when I came across someone who was hit by a car badly, and he was dying in my hands. I was the first person to him. And I had a tapeworm at the time. This is in New York in August, and I'm sweating, and I was going to my doctor for a checkup, and I was already dehydrated, and I was swirling, and I'm holding this man's head as he's looking up to me, gurgling, and I'm lying to him saying, you're gonna be okay, the ambulance is coming. And then the next thing I remember, that my hands were being removed, and someone else would and the EMTs were there, and they placed me on the sidewalk, and they were wiping my hands. And then I realized in retrospect they were wiping blood off of my hands, and they're asking me, "Am I okay?" And your knee-jerk reaction, "Yeah, I'm fine.
Sure.
I'm fine." You're in shock, and I'm talking to the doorman of the building next to me, and I said, "Did you see the car? Did anyone see the car that hit him?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" He was a resident. He was sick, and he jumped off the building. And all of a sudden, I went, "Oh my God."
That's a slightly different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and I looked at the man, and I started to get angry at him.
Sure.
Because in some odd way, it felt like he lied to me.
Yeah.
Like I had a relationship with him, and he didn't tell me the truth of what, it was like,
Yeah.
Of course that doesn't make any sense. But I was delirious, and it was just a harrowing time in my life, and that's in the book as well. And
Good Lord.
The outcome of that.
Well, I think it's great.
Sorry to bring everything down.
Not at all. I think that's an experience that none of us have had, Bryan. And one of the reasons I do this show from the beginning was that I've always been fascinated by people's journeys. Personally, but more professionally, of course. This show focuses much more on professional journeys because every single one of them is so vastly different. Turns out we are really all snowflakes and unique. But
can I call you Snowflake?
I wish you would, because it's going to help me in my character work in Chicago. That fucker called me Snowflake when I need to be mean and angry. So as much as you can share about your particular unique, Bryan Cranston has created a cinematic record of how an actor shapes a career and an identity and a legacy all at the same time, writes Tom Hanks, who we have in common, Earth to the Moon.
And that thing you do.
And that thing you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't, that's right. Gus Grissom.
I was Gus Grissom.
Oh my God.
Tom is the kind of guy that if he called me today and said, would you, I would say yes.
Don't finish your sentence.
Yep.
What do you need?
What do you need?
The discovery of Charlize Theron and so
yes.
on. We have a new segment on the show since you were here last called Famous Questions. These questions themselves are not terribly famous, but they are in fact written by famous friends and or co-stars of yours, who I have reached out for a famous question specifically for you. I asked if you remembered Arthur Albert, of course, the wonderful cinematographer who worked on 3 of the last episodes, including the series finale of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm working with him, we're on night shoots, and we're both sitting around 3 in the morning, and I said, hey, do you have a question? This is very good in terms of, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, as questions go.
This is from Arthur.
This is from Arthur to you.
Okay.
Knowing there would be a tremendous amount of drinking going on at the series finale wrap party, any regrets over hiring a tattoo artist for the final wrap party? What the fuck were you thinking is when he told me that question. That's not possible. And he said, I remember Aaron got a tattoo that night.
Yeah, Aaron, we got so many tattoos on cast and crew that it made sense to hire a tattoo artist. And the tattoo artist was actually also one of our crew members. And I got the first tattoo.
On finger?
Yeah, on here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the BRBA.
Yeah.
It's the, elemental
Symbol.
thing for, yeah, and for bromide and barium, by the way.
That's right.
That's right. Ding, ding,
That was
ding,
one of the
ding,
trivia
ding.
questions.
Is that right?
Bromide and barium.
Bromide and barium.
Breaking Bad, the opening.
Yeah. It was, and that was...
Because one of the rules, from I believe, Jamie, I've heard this from your collection of ink, is to not come in intoxicated.
Any good place will not tattoo anyone who is visibly intoxicated.
At a store, this, on the other hand, is at a wrap party.
At a rap party.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yes. So there was, I bet there was some liquid courage going on at some point.
It has something to do with the thinning of your blood, the thinning of your blood. That's what.
So there was a medical reason.
There's
as well.
a reason.
I didn't know that, but I've seen caricatures of my face on people's.
Oh, you had to.
Backsides and legs. I regret it now, but on the book tour, a woman came up in Portland and she said, will you sign my tattoo? And I went, sign your tattoo. And she opens up her thigh, and high up on her thigh is a big picture of Walter White.
Now, is it this?
It's not that. But it's pretty close to that.
Yeah.
It's looking kind of
I would
menacing.
think most of the tattoos might be a
kind of
little.
that. Yeah, they're kind of
the later years.
along those lines. And she had a picture of me, and she said, would you sign your name under it? And I was taken aback by it, and she handed me a pen, and I thought, okay. And as I'm writing my name on the upper thigh of a young woman, I thought, there's something wrong.
I could go to jail.
There's something, and Bryan Cranston, and I'm like, it's like ended up on the inner thigh, and it's like, and she said she was now going to take that and go get it tattooed in.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I was like,
if you're out there, please send a photo to KPCSFanmail@gmail.com.
I hope I did the right thing. I don't know.
Oh my.
Well, I technically have 2 random character actors tattooed on me.
What?
Well, because I have Twilight Zone tattoos.
Oh yeah.
So this guy, I actually just had to look up their names. This is actor Barney Phillips from
the one in the diner where the guy's a Martian.
Sure.
From Where the Real Martian, Please Stand Up. And then this one is the Howling Man, or the Devil, that was played by Robin Hughes. So Robin Hughes and Barney Phillips.
I know Barney
have
Phillips.
tattoos
In
of
character.
that.
In
Yeah,
character.
in
And technically there's a Ted Danson hot dog in there.
Oh, and Ted Danson is a hot dog.
Of
Of course.
Who doesn't have a Ted Danson hot dog, by the way?
Have you showed Ted?
I have not. I met Ted once
You should get
before I
Ted
had the
on the
hot
show.
dog.
It's a fantasy.
He's a good guest.
Yeah.
It was
He
kind
would
of
be.
it was a slight dare by my best friend. these.
So that's all it takes to get a tattoo.
Well, I snuck it in with these movie snacks, but it's
Yeah.
based on, there's a restaurant in our hometown called the Hot Dog Shop, and they have collectible cups that are have hot dogs on them, and one of the cups was the cast of Cheers' hot dogs, and my best friend's like, oh fuck it, just go full sleeve. She's like, just go full sleeve and get Ted Danson hot dog, and I'm like, okay.
Now it is done. Your next famous question, sir, comes from your dear pal Jason Alexander.
Yes.
For a guy who is both a consummate actor and very much a chameleon character actor, and knowing that President Johnson was both taller and heavier than you, why didn't you put in the work and get heavier and taller? Sure, you fooled the Tony and Emmy voters, but some of us saw through it.
Jason.
Not really a question, but a lovely comment.
Lovely comment,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you first meet on the television program?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. I was, being a cast member in the guest star capacity on Seinfeld was like going to comedy boot camp. It was like watching Jerry and Larry crafting and carving as if they had a hunk of clay and just ever so giving shadings, and then the actors coming in and doing it, and Jason and Julia and Michael. It was just astonishing.
And you were given freedom in that?
To some degree,
Right.
But I was more, I wanted to just be all ears. I wanted to soak it up and not be there to say, hey, look what I can do.
Right.
In fact, one of the stories in the book is about Seinfeld. I played the dentist, and I'm there in my dental office, and I'm doing things. And this is the one where Jerry thinks that I molested him because he had the penthouse pet hygienist, and he thought that was, it was not the proper thing to have, and it's not the proper thing to have. And so he thought I was molesting him, and
While he was out?
While he's out. So I get the nitrous oxide and I put it on him. He goes out and then he finds out I don't remember if I was tucked or untucked, that thing. And so we do this thing, and nitrous oxide, thank you, nurse, and I put it on him, and I go, just relax, and I send the back, and he's looking at me like, what's going to happen? And that was the scene.
Sure.
So they go off and go rehearse another scene. I didn't have one, and I'm on my set and working the tools and things, and I hear, hey, you know what would be funny? And I look around, and up on a ladder is an electrician adjusting, and I go, me? He goes, yeah, you know what would be funny? I go, what, man on the ladder, what would be funny? And he said, if you took a hit of the laughing gas first yourself. And I went, oh my God. Oh my God. So I waited until we were shooting. And then I...
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
just
that's
waited
the best.
And I didn't tell him.
And part of you was waiting to do
I know. Part of me was like, oh, here it comes. Nurse, may I have the nitrous oxide? And I took the hose and I went, that's good. And then, of course, Jerry, I couldn't get it to Jerry. Jerry falls over laughing. Larry is even laughing, which is not that common.
No.
Right? So he's laughing, and audiences burst out laughing.
Sure.
And we're going to do it again. Jerry, stop laughing. Nurse, nitrous oxide, and he starts laughing. No, give it back to her. Yeah. Jerry, stop laughing. All right, no, stop laughing. Tell me when you're ready, ready. And I would just turn, he'd start laughing, where you get caught up in that spiral. And we finally got like 14 times before we were able to get, and Larry said, brilliant idea. And I go, no, it was, and of course the guy on the ladder is not there anymore. We're doing the show. And I'm looking around.
Turns out he was never there.
He was never. And I look over and I actually spotted him leaning against, during the show. And I said, he gave it to me. That guy. And all the heads turned to see this guy. And he's up against, leaning on a door jamb, and he just goes, like I got a lot of them.
Yeah.
If people would just listen to me.
Yeah, and he was fired that day.
Fired.
Can I get you some ice water? I notice your cup's running a little...
My cup runneth
Yeah,
empty.
get the ice water flown in,
okay.
please.
Thank you.
Just in case. All right, that's beautiful, and that is one of the stories in the book. Your next question comes from your old co-star, Bob Odenkirk. Ready?
Yeah.
Come on in, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny.
What would you do if you were attacked by a giant grasshopper?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because that's happened.
We're talking giant. How big was it?
Oh, giant. I mean, it's the size of this building.
Okay.
Interesting. You play dead is what you do. Like a
bear.
Like a possum.
Or a possum.
Or a bear.
Yeah.
One of the things my father actually was in was a sci-fi movie called The Beginning of the End. And in it was the attack of giant grasshoppers into the metropolis. And my dad is playing an army guy stationed on top of a building. And the guys are in the office in the command central smoking away and going,
what are we going to do?
Sector 7, report in. You know, Sector 7 here, Sector 7, no sign of them. Keep an eye out. And of course, behind my dad is the antlers start going up. No sign of them over here. You know, and then, all right, Sector 7, we'll keep it. What? Oh, you hear, Sector 7, Sector 7! And it's like, Dad died again.
Oh my God.
The beginning of the end.
You must have shared that story with Odenkirk.
Yes, I did. Maybe perhaps he knows.
Yeah.
Good luck to Bob on the Emmys coming up.
Yes. He's so wonderful.
Oh, he's so good in this. Well, he was good in Mr. Show, and I mean
everything.
But this was
in particular.
This was a definite step in a direction that he didn't know he was going to go in.
And it's one of those challenges that, quite frankly, is rare that you get to not only stretch and find out what you're made of, and can I really do this, but then excel to the point that maybe not even he thought was possible.
Was possible.
Yeah. Okay. We have to go to a station break and thank our sponsor in just a moment. But first, this question from Vince Gilligan. Chatsworth, late 1960s. You and a pre-helter-skelter Charles Manson.
Oh, yeah.
Together, way out in the middle of nowhere. True story? And if so, why didn't you stop him when you had the chance? That's the kind of question you could only get from a Vince Gilligan.
That is good. Yeah, he liked that story. That's a true story.
Is that in the book?
It's not in the book.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why.
That means you got another book in you.
I think I wrote it out, and I don't know why it didn't make the book. But my cousin and I, before the highway was put in to connect the San Fernando Valley to Simi Valley in the northern suburbs of Los Angeles, there was the Santa Susana Pass that went zigzag, switchback, all the way up and over into there. In the middle of the Santa Susana Pass was a place called the Spawn Ranch.
Sure.
And the Spawn Ranch
became famous.
Was a ranch.
Yeah.
It was horseback riding and things like that. So
like a tourist thing, where your locals would take their kids to ride horses.
So I lived out there, and my cousin and I were dropped off by my mom and uncle to go horseback riding. We were probably 10-ish, something like that. In those days, they would do that. And there was a guy coming in as we're renting the horses from an old guy. There was another man who ran in and said, "Charlie's on the hill! Charlie's on the hill!" And it startled us. And we're like, "What happened? What happened?" "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And also we look out the window, and there's maybe 8 to 10 guys jumping on horses and galloping away. Wow. That's like the movies.
Yeah.
That's like, wow. Oh, and then the old guy, and then the old guy rented our horses, and it got, dun, 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 you know, it's just like, this is horseback riding. And away we go on the path, the same direction that they went. About 20 minutes after we start, we see a row of horses coming by us. Now, the trail was probably a little wider than this table.
Barely wide enough for one horse.
Right, and it's like you're coming by right next to it. And we're coming by, there's about 2 horses in front, and then a guy holding the reins of the horse behind him. And on that horse is a little guy, black hair down to here, black beard, wild black eyes, and he was just like, he was
tripping.
Just tripping. He was like this, not looking at anything, just going like, and we were passing by, and of course we're looking at him. It's like, whoa. And as soon as everybody passed, my cousin says to me, "Must be Charlie." And I went, "Yeah, must be Charlie."
Charlie's on the hill, must be Charlie.
On the hill. We can't go on. You know, a year and a half later, 2 years later.
You see that face again in the news.
And my cousin calls me and said, "Did you know that?" Spawn Ranch, horseback riding Charlie. And we're looking, and I see the face, and I'm like, oh my God, it's him. It's because it was such an event.
Of course.
We kind of locked into that guy
Yeah.
who was passing us. I think I dreamt about that face a couple times. It was so severe.
Daunting.
And so we brushed by, and all the members of his group, and there were a couple women
Sure.
and the rest men, and it was like, oh my God, how things could have gone a different way for us.
Kidding.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you chills to be that close to such evil and being on a horseback ride and a very innocent
Yeah.
with your cousin.
Yeah. It's weird.
And a little too on the nose, but the devil goes by in the other direction.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vince Gilligan. Okay. Oh, I have to thank our sponsor. Feel free to check your phone as I spend the next moments here thanking our wonderful sponsor today. They are, in course, we've talked about these fine folks at Casper Mattress before, and it's an astonishing, my favorite part of the whole ad I'm just going to jump to, and that is the 100 nights risk-free. So you need a new mattress, you want to pay less for it. More importantly, you want to have it sent, shipped, delivered to your doorstep. You open up this box and this mattress unfolds, and you get to think about it for a little less than a third of a year, 100 nights before, at any point during that, you can say, not for me, ship it back free of cost. I'm trying to think of the last few mattresses prior to my Casper experience and how long it took and how many stores I went to, rolling back and forth thinking, I've got 92 seconds on this mattress in a store to think, is this how I want to sleep? So let's compare 100 nights free to those 92 seconds of uncertainty. Casper is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. Supportive memory foam created award-winning sleep surface and just the right sink and just the right bounce. Folks, I don't know if you're on the memory foam yet. Do yourself a solid. And it's risk-free. Again, have it sent for a week. What do you care? You might fall in love with it and you might have changed your life for the better. Try Casper 100 nights risk-free in your own home. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit. Not rolling around, honey, is this what it feels like? Nope. Before you commit, you get 100 nights free, especially considering what you've spent a third of your life, as it turns out, sleeping. Free shipping returned to U.S. and Canada with over 20,000 reviews at an average of 4.8 stars out of 5. It's quickly become the internet's favorite mattress. Get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting Casper.com/Kevin and using offer code Kevin. Terms and conditions apply, of course. We love that Casper supports this show, and we thank you for your efforts to support this show. So I have to encourage you. You've got literally nothing to lose. Please go to Casper.com/Kevin.
Used to be just a friendly ghost, and now
Turns out
let
him comfort you to sleep.
They found their real calling.
Yeah, if you don't like sleeping on a ghost after a couple of nights or 100 nights, send that ghost away.
That's right.
They'll come get him.
That's a really amazing thing that it comes in a box and then it opens up.
It's
fascinating.
I've heard it's worth ordering it and sending it back just to watch that.
Just to watch
Just
it
to watch it
open
happen.
up.
Actually, there's YouTube videos of it, I'm certain.
But
Yeah.
and you can order different firm or soft or whatever.
You go online, you
like.
choose to your liking, and by the way, do it a couple of times until they get it right.
Until they get it right. That sounds good.
It's a little too good. It's a little too good. I'm waiting for the shoe to fall with the Casper mattress.
No shoes on the bed, please.
No shoes on the bed. Or tell me more about Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. We sort of ran past that a little bit. So your production company, one of the wonderful things when you get to the lofty perch of a success as you've enjoyed is now what? Now what can I do to diversify? You, like myself, through the research, always spinning the plates like the guys on the Ed Sullivan Show. Did you ever see Albert Brooks do it as a comedian on Carson? He brought up 6 people representing the sticks that would spin the plates, and he would make one laugh, and then go to the next one, make them laugh, go back to the first one, making Furies laughing until all...
Oh my God, no, I didn't see that.
That's on the YouTube as well. So you've diversified to the point where you've got a production company. As you mentioned, there are 4 programs currently. Supermansion, Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams is going to debut
next year. Actually, well, it'll debut in London and around the world later this year.
Is it a BBC?
It's Channel 4.
Channel 4.
Channel 4.
So here eventually on
Amazon.
Amazon, where Sneaky Pete is as well. That's the third one. The fourth one would be...
The fourth one is also with Amazon. I found a really lovely home there. It's called The Dangerous Book for Boys.
Right.
Which is based on the actual best-selling international book, The Dangerous Book for Boys.
Because it shows them how to
be a boy, to embrace boyhood. And it's really, what we were talking about in the beginning, it's like, I wanted to create a show that was non-cynical, that was embracing and inviting and sweet and funny and adventurous and that a family could sit down and watch together. And so I created this show called Dangerous Book for Boys, and it's wonderful. We're just about finishing our production.
Tell me about your process in terms of, you say we created. So the first thing you do is look for a showrunner. Well,
the first thing I was trying to crack this idea. If you know The Dangerous Book for Boys, it's a really wonderful book written by 2 brothers from England.
Right.
And they have boys of their own, and they were lamenting the fact that their boys are constantly doing this, and oh, look at that, a unicorn, yeah. I got a unicorn here too. And it's like, and so it's what are the rules of baseball? How to talk to a girl, where to find arrowheads, how to make a fort, what are the great battles in history? Embrace,
be a boy, get out there,
make some mistakes, grow up, take some chances, and be adventurous. Go out like you and I used to jump on a bike and
we didn't
go.
have options.
No, it's like there's no entertainment for you.
Nope.
Mom, I need a play date. You need to drive me. So it's like, no, that ain't gonna happen. So you had to create your own adventures, and so I wanted to create.
How did you find the book?
Sony TV, which my deal is at, had the rights to the title, but there's no plot, there's no characters,
there's no story.
There's no story. So I had to come up with the actual story, and I was running along the Charles River in Boston, just blowing it out because I couldn't figure out. Let it go. It's not going to come. So just let it go. Completely forgetting about it, and all of a sudden, it popped into my head, and it stopped me, and I went, wait a minute, and I ran home and I started dictating, what the thing was, and then pitched it out to my producing partner, pitched it out to the brothers in England, and then we took it in and sold it to Sony and to Amazon.
So what is the story, as much as you can tell us?
It starts out where there's a lovely family in Akron, Ohio, who just lost their dad. He died. He had cancer, and it's really sad, but it happens.
Sure.
So you have these 3 boys, you have the mom, you have the grandma, and the patriarch dies. He's a wonderful, adventurous man who was a tinkerer, and he worked for the Hoover Vacuum Cleaner Company in the engineering department for 20 years, and he created little, ingenious little inventions, and it was a tinker, it's fun. And he knew he was going, so he created The Dangerous Book for Boys for his boys.
Oh my.
As a surrogate, because he knew he wasn't going to be around.
Legacy left behind, fantastic.
So it's a way to stay in touch. So in every episode we have a fantasy sequence or 2.
Sure.
And in every fantasy, the dad is in it going, hey boys. And it's like, Dad? It was a way for them both to stay connected to father and sons.
And you shot?
We're about finished with the production. That too will premiere next year on Amazon.
On Amazon.
Dangerous Book for Boys. Yeah.
Oh man,
it's fun.
I want to check in to see if the interwebs, we tweeted out, and
interweb.
sometimes they send anything come in there, Jamal. Jamie checking on the...
I sent you something.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
You have to.
Matt Schichter, because that's a name.
Matt Schichter.
Reminds me of in Flirting with Disaster, the Schlichtings.
Oh, yes.
The Schlichtings.
Conflicting.
Ask
love
Bryan
that
what he
movie.
thinks Howard in Wakefield says to his family when he returns home. He must have some idea as the character as to where the scene could have gone. All right, Wakefield's in my notes. So when we saw you last, the other thing I want to talk about is your wonderful daughter venturing into the professional world of acting. And the other thing you told us about the movie you were about to do, I believe, or had just finished, is this wonderful Wakefield. So the story, available on Amazon, I'm sure. Give us a little bit about the story of this character.
The origin of Wakefield was Nathaniel Hawthorne back in the 1830s in London, about a guy who leaves his family and then takes up a flat a couple blocks away and would come over and look through the window and see what his family is doing without him in it.
Right.
E.L. Doctorow then picked it up and Americanized it, and Robin Swycord took that short story and through E.L. Doctorow's approval wrote a screenplay and directed this strange little story about a man, a very successful Manhattan lawyer, coming home. He and his wife had an argument. There's a couple kids, all the trappings of success in Rye, New York, and the compound and the cars and the vacations, but yet he still feels like he's on this hamster wheel. He's got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. You know, he dictates the party of the first part and needs to accept the party of the second part of it. It's almost like droning.
Yeah.
His heart is gone. His soul is damaged. He goes into his compound that night after an argument and he's tired and he sees a raccoon. He shoos the raccoon away, but the raccoon goes upstairs on his detached garage attic. I gotta go get him out of there. He goes and gets the raccoon out, get out of here. And he looks out the window and he can see across his courtyard into his house. He can see his wife, his kids, in his kitchen, in his dining room. It's like, oh, this is fascinating. She calls, he turns it off and just watches. He can't.
His life without him.
His life without him. And he's fascinated by that experience.
That is fascinating.
And he ends up staying.
And seductive.
Quite a long time.
Yes.
And perhaps he was predisposed to some kind of mental disability.
He has a very unique breakdown.
Yeah.
And chooses to hole up
Yeah.
and watch.
So he I don't want to really. At the end of the movie, there's a certain couple things that happen, and he re-enters his life, which he had had not been able to actually do.
Yeah.
And so he re-enters his life, and
How long have he been gone?
8 months. And he just
Buried. I mean.
Yeah, he's dead. As far as they're concerned, they had to move on. He just disappeared. Didn't use credit cards, didn't use any identification of any sort. There's no trace of him, just gone. And he becomes a homeless person in the attic. He's foraging for food and finds a pair of shoes, and it's like, oh my God, this man deteriorates
Right.
to a point of just the basics and what it is to be a human being. And there are people who are showing him just human kindness, and he wouldn't have been able to understand that before.
No.
So in some ways he grew, and in some ways he diminished.
Wow.
Yeah, Wakefield. It's a really interesting movie.
Yeah. Is it Netflix or Amazon?
I'll say Amazon.
Yeah, let's just keep going with Amazon. Now, during those years early on, I did want to ask about this. When you were having your sneaky Pete moments, you also at some point were first in your class with the LAPD Law Enforcement Explorers. That flies in the face of sneaky Pete actions.
It does.
The byproduct that I'm curious about of this lofty position as first in your class was a few weeks in Europe where you, quote, lost my virginity on that trip in Austria, and I lost it in Switzerland, and I lost it in Lombard, and I lost it in France. So your closer in each of these countries was being a virgin?
I was 16 years old. Yeah, and I was with 20 other 16 and 17-year-old buddies, and 5 policemen who are our chaperones. And the first thing they would say whenever we got into town, okay, we've toured the police department or Interpol and this sort of thing. Now, you are underage and you are not allowed to go to bars or houses of prostitution. You have free time for the next 4 hours. Be back at 1200 hours. You know, it's like
They would point out the things you shouldn't
Yes.
do. Oh no.
yes, and well, you're 16. And it's like, okay,
You got it, Sarge.
and you know that's
Little dust cloud.
dust cloud, sound effects, and away we were. I think there were many guys who lost their virginity on that 5-week trip.
You're 16.
Yeah.
But this is an extraordinary opportunity, by the way.
Yeah.
In a household where you had sort of lost your way.
Yeah.
So whose idea was it, first of all, for you to get involved in the
Police Explorers.
Police Explorers?
My brother, you know, back in the day, they used to bring, there used to be career day.
Sure.
And in the gym, they'd have all branches of the military, and they'd have the Department of Water and Power, and they'd have the, you know, the gas company, and they'd have the, you know, the Times, and whatever. And we were in Los Angeles, and they had the police department, the fire department, and my brother joined the Police Explorers. I don't know why, but we were
Sounded
poor
exciting.
kids. It sounded exciting, and I think maybe in retrospect, we were both looking for a father figure in our life, because we didn't see our father from the time I was 11 or 12 to the time I was 22. We didn't see or hear from him.
That's
So
very
I think
important.
there was there was an emptiness. And we were kind of left to our own devices. My mother, God rest her soul, was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And started drinking a lot.
Right.
And so emotionally, she wasn't really available to us. There was this chasm of, I don't know what to do. What are you going to do? I don't know. And he joined this group, and they traveled. And we were poor kids from the suburbs. And he went, with this group, he went to Hawaii one year. The second year, he went to Japan with this group. And I thought, okay, as soon as I'm 16, the minimum age, I'm joining so we can travel.
Yeah.
That was it.
See the world.
That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I joined. I found I had an aptitude for it, because we'd have to go to the LAPD Academy for 8 Saturdays in a row and study police procedure and crowd control, securing crime scenes and whatnot. You're like a cadet. You're being groomed. I graduated first in my class, and it was like, wow, okay, I guess I have an aptitude for this. This is what I should be doing. Great. And sure enough, I'm in. First year, we go to Europe for 5 weeks. It cost each member $400 for everything. Food, lodging, airfare, transportation, $400. We did have to write home for traveler's checks for the prostitutes, because instead of bringing home a T-shirt from my mom, you know, I wanted to bring home
Crabs.
You know, STD. Yeah. But
Did you work a paper route or something to gather the $400?
Oh yeah. I always had a job.
Yeah.
Since I was 10 or 11, I've always had jobs. Mowing lawns, doing something in the neighborhood, or whatever, paper boy, and that kind of thing.
And other than seeing the world, was there a sense of, hey, I might have an aptitude in police force?
Yeah, I was going to be a policeman. I went to college. I was going to go to 4 years of college, administration of justice major, have a Bachelor of Science, then go into the police department. And if you had a degree, advancement's faster, the pay raises are higher, and so that was the plan.
Yeah.
Because I had to be 21 anyway.
Right.
So, okay, so my second year of college, I get an acting class. Oh, that was fun when I was a kid, acting class, it was fun. And the first class, teacher gathered, come on everybody, come on, you two read this, you two read this, you two read, wherever you happen to be standing there. I was standing next to this really pretty girl. And I thought, oh, wow. And I was nervous. I just turned 19, and I looked down at this script, and it says, a couple is making out on a park bench. And I thought, oh my God, I looked over to her.
What are the chances?
And so what threw me was, and this is in the book too in more detail, but this girl was all over me. I mean, she was all over me.
She's a good actress, Bryan.
That's what I found out. I actually believed she really liked me. So I asked her out at the break, and she goes, "Oh, no, no." I was like, "Oh."
But we were just...
Yeah, we were just, and you were and you were all over me, but you didn't, and I have a boyfriend. Oh.
That doesn't compute.
And so, two things. One, my job in this class was to convincingly kiss this girl and really take her in. That never happened in any police science course I ever took.
No?
No, it didn't happen. The second thing was I actually absolutely believed she liked me, and she didn't.
Right.
She was acting. So I was dizzy from this experience, like, oh my God, this is powerful.
Yeah.
This is really powerful. And so that's when I went, okay, I don't think I'm going to be a policeman. I don't know what I'm going to be, but I need to go find myself. And I hopped on a motorcycle and I took off for 2 years.
Is that the trip you took with your brother around the country?
Yeah. 2 years we were on the road.
I would love if there's any moment in the book, so maybe from that section, where there's a little tiny piece you might want to read or regale.
Yeah.
From that particular...
From that time?
Yeah, because when I saw that you and your brother went on a 2-year, jumped on motorcycles, see the world, that's so fantasy, literature, films, poetry, it's endless what's been drawn from a trip like that. You actually did it.
It was quite interesting. It was
your idea, his idea?
It was our idea, because he was also confused, like, I don't know what I want to do either. So there was a period of time in the 70s. I see. I'll get to where we got jobs at night. We easily found jobs as waiters at the Hawaiian Inn Polynesian restaurant in Daytona Beach, Florida. We stopped there for the winter because it's cold. We were broke and we're cold, and we stayed with our cousins, the Taffs. And there we met a man named Peter Wong, a man we would come to hate. A little man in every sense, in stature and in spirit. Peter was incongruously loud. His screaming went on without end. He was a Hawaiian Inn chef. And if an order came out from the kitchen wrong, he'd go crazy at the servers, loud. And the restaurant, he would bitch and shriek about the complete worthlessness and stupidity. You know, he was just horrible, except with the women. So around the women, he blushed like a schoolboy. The male waiters came to an understanding that their female shift partners each night would deal with him. We would take care of everything else. Just deal with him.
Wow.
Right? So life was good. It was in the 1970s, the pre-AIDS. If you were caught doing something, you had penicillin. The consequences of sexual liberty seemed minimal. Wild parties, drunken sexual encounters were common for other people, not myself, of course. Of course. And we would spend each night, down at a bar afterward, playing liar's poker. Once when we were gone, something happened to Peter Wong, the chef that everyone hated. Just days after my brother Ed and I left on our trip, we made some money, take off up the East Coast. Peter disappeared. He vanished. He had been gone a week when the police came to talk with a few remaining waitstaff. Did anyone know where Peter might have gone? So we said, check the dog track, check the highlight pavilion. Everyone said, inveterate gambler. No one socialized with him. The cops pressed on. Did anyone mention a desire to harm or kill Mr. Wong? Well, everyone went silent. Finally, a waiter raised his hand and said, everyone, Our co-workers at the restaurant regaled the officers with tales of the man's repugnant personality. We all thought about how we'd kill him because... I said, why? And then the detective said, because he was found dead. He was murdered. And there was silence. Then came the second bombshell. Is there anyone who no longer is employed here who talked about killing Mr. Wong? They're dead serious, we were told later. Some of the group exchanged, look, well, the Cranston brothers, they took off on their motorcycles when? Last week, right around the estimated time of Mr. Wong's death. I took descriptions of our motorcycles, our persons, and approximate destination.
Cranston boys.
Yeah. Our
On the
cousin, Freddie, our cousin, Freddie Taft, told us later that the authorities put out an all-points bulletin on us, but then canceled it 2 days later when they found out what really happened. Apparently, Peter always carried a thick wad of cash.
Sure.
Apparently, he was flashing at the dog track when he showed it to the wrong hooker. And I want to say right off the bat, this is not the same woman that I lost my virginity to. It's
in Switzerland.
Different continent
Sure.
and everything. She lured him to a house where he was jumped and killed. His body was found in the trunk of an abandoned car, bludgeoned to death, cashless. It's a gruesome way to die, and I felt awful that I didn't feel awful.
And were accused.
And I was temporarily wanted for murder.
You were temporarily wanted for murder.
Yes.
Ain't bad.
It's
also
kind of
on the resume.
A little street cred.
Brian, I see here you can ride a horse, you can do accents, and you were temporarily wanted for murder.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, sir. It qualifies me for this job.
I truly can't thank you enough for spending
It's been fun.
some of your Sunday with us again. What is next? The IMDb is chock full. So
chock full.
What can you share with us?
I have a really sweet movie coming out in November called Last Flag Flying. Richard Linklater movie.
Yeah, there's already ridiculous Oscar buzz. So now that you've been nominated, yes, you're premiering September 28th at the New York Film Festival.
Right.
And attached to that, maybe it's just the publicity company behind that premiere, but attached to that is already a few things. Some people have seen the film, apparently.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw the movie, and it's really lovely. It's with Steve Carell, Lawrence Fishburne, and myself.
Yeah.
Three buds. Remember Last Detail?
Sure.
Back in the 70s.
Sure.
This was written originally by Darryl Ponison, who wrote The Last Detail. And it was written as a follow-up.
Of sorts, yeah.
And but Nicholson's retired, and Randy Quaid went crazy.
Is it the same characters?
So
Roughly.
what Richard Linklater did was keep the same milieu, same sensibility, same relationship, same task that they now have 30 years after that, but the character names are different, so it's not a sequel to it.
In The Last Detail, of course, they're taking him
To prison.
To prison.
To the, military prison.
They're
in New
both
Hampshire.
the police of the Navy?
Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is that roughly?
It's roughly the same thing. So still the three guys, and Steve Carell beautifully plays this role as the guy who just got out of prison. His wife has passed, and he has a son in the military, and he comes to me, finds me all these years later, and asks me to help him do something.
Wow.
And then we get Fish to come along with us.
Yeah.
And the three of us are now,
on a task,
reconvened.
on a mission.
Yeah, and it's really a funny, heartfelt, beautiful story. And that comes out in November, Last Flag Flying. And then I go to London. I'm on stage in London playing Howard Beale in Network.
This I heard about.
Yeah.
This is extraordinary.
It's going to be fun.
Who? Some playwright adapted
Patty
the
Chayefsky's original
Right.
film script
Right.
was adapted by a playwright named Lee Hall, and Ivo van Hove is directing, and brilliant Belgian director, and it's going to be great. We're at the National Theatre in London.
First time in the West End?
It's first time doing a play in London. Well, it's like we were talking. It's like I was just attracted to the material.
Yeah.
And the resonance of that message now.
Well,
it was farcical in the 70s.
Right.
It's not so now.
No, not even close.
No.
No, you just go right down the line from the soothsayer,
Yeah.
to Miss Cleo
Yeah.
on television hawking the
Right.
fortune telling.
Right.
It was also subversive storytelling in its day.
Yeah.
Television was beloved and
Yeah.
celebrated, and small, a tiny little world compared to what it is now.
Right.
So has that been opened up, or is it a period piece?
Ivo is a very interesting director because he likes to give a sense of a time and place, but not necessarily specific.
Okay.
So we kind of in there, but not really. We're in. It's very American story, and yet we're doing it in London, and so it's going to be It's going to be a very interesting thing. There are going to be patrons on stage with the actors while we're performing in a real restaurant. They will have a 3-course meal and drinks on stage with us.
Of course they will, Brian.
Of course they will. What could go wrong? Alcohol and people on stage with actors. Nothing can go wrong is the answer to that, my friend.
Bad service better not happen. Is everything all right out there, Kenyon?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. The book, Life in Parts. Do yourself a solid. Audio, did you read the...
I read the audiobook. I
Yeah.
did narration of my own book.
I found that to be one of the most taxing things.
I did too. Because you hear yourself and you go, oh, I hate the way I said that word. No, we have to do it over.
Yeah.
It sounded fine to us. No,
3 days.
No.
It took me 3 days.
I think it took me longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it was
I thought I liked the sound of my own voice. Turned out, not when I'm listening.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Congratulations on this and everything.
Thanks.
A little bit in closing about your wonderful daughter who went to school, studied acting,
Yeah.
theater, and far too soon after graduating.
She graduates from as a theater major from USC, and 2.5 months after graduation, she books a pilot.
The lead.
Yeah, it's a co-lead. It's two young women in a television series called Sweet Vicious, and a really terrific show.
A pilot that gets picked up. First of all, just the process of
Yeah.
getting the part.
Yeah.
Do you sit her down and
No.
just let her?
You kind of, as a dad, you want to say, okay, this doesn't happen
Ever.
So
You don't get a lead.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The pilot doesn't go.
But it's her journey.
Yeah.
So it's what. But she's so good.
And so that's the other
So
thing.
good.
That's the other thing that's beyond relief, I imagine, as a parent, that the child just doesn't want to pursue in dare I say, ridiculous footsteps to fill and follow, rather. But please excel. Please
Yeah,
be your
please.
own voice and be good.
She's a hard worker.
Yeah.
She's terrific. She really is. She loves the process.
Yeah.
Loves the art of acting. Loves how it makes her feel, the empowerment of it. And actually, she would be a little embarrassed knowing that we're talking about it.
Sure.
Because she's like, "Oh, Dad, don't. I'd rather." She wants to carve out her own identity.
That sounds like an artist, too.
And I want to leave that alone,
Yeah.
as much as possible.
Wonderful, and thank you. All right, sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the folks at home. Thank you so much
My pleasure.
for your Sunday.
Good seeing you.
And enjoy what's the waning moments of your summer, please. Bryan Cranston, ladies and Jews, that's how that is done. Don't forget your Los Angeles Dodgers, currently the best record in baseball. And then here's hoping, as the summer ends and the fall begins, they are somehow set on fire.
I had to give away a T-shirt that said Dodger Stadium on it that you didn't want.
Well, we don't talk about that, in case the person who gave it to me.
I highly doubt she will ever listen to this.
All right, then we'll just talk about it.
She's probably like, podcast? What's a podcast? Who could I pay to get it on my phone for me?
Our best to Sam Levine, who's working. Ryan Noble and J-Mac up in the crow's nest getting it done. Luke Allen, thank you again, as always, for making sure one of the cameras actually functioned. Floor Director Kenny Chen, Dr. Evil, and Jaden Fox on makeup. Jamie, thanks again as always. Corey Levin in post. Sam Levine will be hosting these proceedings next Sunday with a guest to be named. Follow him on Twitter to find out. Don't forget, again, to get yourself a copy, either in audio form or in book form. Get a book, damn it. Life in Parts, Bryan Cranston. Yeah, I think that's it. Until next time, and God bless you wherever you are, Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.